Weekends are supposed to recharge you, but are yours leaving you wiped out? That's your weekend turning into your weekend. Between the late nights, the sweet and salty snacks, and maybe one too many cocktails, your body doesn't get the rest it needs. By Monday, you're dragging instead of thriving. But here's the good news: you don't have to give up your weekends to feel better. Let's talk about a few simple swaps that can help you start the week strong.
Have you ever been on a health journey where you are so quote unquote good during the week? You're doing all the things. You might do a food diary, you might be walking, exercising, drinking your water, eating your protein, and then the weekend comes and all of a sudden everything goes out the window. Today we're going to be talking about how to not let your weekend become your weekend. So join us today. I'm Jen.
And I'm Erin. Welcome to Beyond the Scale.
Erin, have you been there? Do you feel like a hamster on a wheel, getting nowhere, spending your whole week trying to lose the weight that you might have gained on the weekend, or to get back into the routine of exercise or eating healthy just because we spent Friday and Saturday kind of enjoying ourselves?
Way too many times to count. It's been something that I've been learning over the last 15 years, mostly from my mistakes on, wow, okay, I guess I can't push it that far because, like everyone, we like to see how far we can go with things. And I have
That's true.
found that I pushed them, that it wasn't just going out with friends, then it was the next day of like, oh, I don't feel like cooking. Should we get a pizza? And oh, yeah, that sounds great. Oh, and I don't have any food. I didn't go to the grocery store, so there's nothing to eat. Let's Uber Eat. And then suddenly I didn't go to the grocery store for Monday either. And so it's not just a Friday thing, it's a Friday to Monday thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. That we might think that if it was just Friday or Friday night, Saturday night, and we were back on track on Sunday or Monday morning when we left for work, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But we're almost turning this 2 day weekend into a 3.5 or 4 day weekend, because now we're at work on Monday, still eating like we did on the weekend because there's no food in the house. And then maybe we get to the grocery store and do some planning on Monday night. So possibly we're back on plan on Tuesday. It's a really slippery slope, isn't it?
It really is. And I think the other thing to consider is that for many of us, the diet culture of my entire life
Yeah.
is all of a sudden Tuesday, I go to the store, I get all the things, and then I have the restricting mindset of like, oh gosh, I really blew it. I'm really going to have to work hard the next few days in order to fix what I just did over the weekend. Whereas if I had just stuck with a Friday night going out, it wouldn't be nearly as hard as it is to fix 4 days of whooping it up and having a good time. It really is a slippery slope, and you just fall into it.
Well, and speaking of diet culture, it's so unhealthy for our bodies to be in that restrictive diet mentality, and then almost like a binging mentality, an indulgent mentality for the weekend. And so this whole yo-yoing that we're doing is really confusing our body and our hormones. And oftentimes we end up storing fat out of that confusion and that cortisol influx. And so it's really going to take even a little bit longer than what we did over the weekend to get it off if we are going to these high and low extremes. It would be better for us to stay a little bit more even if it wasn't perfect, than to throw the body into such stress.
Jen, how about you? Have you been in that situation, and what have you discovered? Do you have any tips for me, anyone else who's listening, on how we can get off the hamster wheel, how we can still enjoy ourselves yet not feel like we're constantly fixing a moment?
I've got a couple tips actually. I think that there's a few reasons why the weekends tend to be a little less easy, a little more hard. And maybe by identifying those, we'll be able to come up with some strategies to figure out which one do you think is your trigger moment. So sometimes it's as basic as just what we've been talking about, almost that reward mentality that we've just decided it's the weekend and the weekend somehow equals time to relax, time to eat all my favorite foods because I've been so good during the week. And so it could just be this headset of making a little bit of a change of saying, it is the weekend and you can relax and you can indulge, but could we or should we choose one or two meals, maybe like call it a flex meal? We don't want to call it cheating. We're not doing anything wrong, right? It's just food. But maybe I plan one or two flex meals where I am going to eat all the things and I might not record it and I might not make the healthiest choice, but the rest of the meals, I'm kind of staying true to my goals. So that
Ooh, I
could be
like that.
possibly, right? Like, so I think we've decided, like, we've already discussed this reward mentality. I think that's where we were both at of throw in the towel, it's the weekend. But also, I think it's the lack of schedule. Although I will argue that I think we do have a schedule, but I'll save that maybe for the coaching corner. I think it's the idea that there's something going on during the week, whether you're working or retired or you're a student, wherever you're at, that kind of anchors the week, right? We know when meals are, we know when we have to leave the house, we know when we're coming home. We probably have a similar wake up and bedtime. And then the weekend comes and we're not sure, there's no anchors. Yeah. Does that
It's
make
loose.
sense?
It's loosey goosey. It's like, well, we could do this, we could do that. And I don't know about you, when I'm like, I don't have structure. Sometimes I do nothing, or sometimes I do way too many crazy things. So yeah, the having the structure and recognizing the routine.
Yes. Well, and you just brought up a good point too. Like sometimes it's not that we're doing nothing on the weekend, but the weekends become super busy, right? The kids have games, the friends want to come over and watch the football games. Oh, I've got to get to that craft store, that antique shopping, or it's the flea market time, the farmers markets, whatever. And oh, we got to meet that friend for dinner. And so now this social emotional temptations become harder to control our food and our drink choices. um, we might be a little overstimulated, and then all of those social cues kind of go out the window and we're so mentally exhausted that it just feels easier to order that pizza, to pull through the drive through, or just go ahead and say, yeah, let's go grab some donuts.
Yeah.
So it could be too lack of having nothing to do, or it could be, as you mentioned, the overachiever on the weekend. I've got to clean the house, I've got to mop the floor, I've got to go to the grocery store, go go go. All of these, or both of these I should say, are going to affect our mood, right, and our energy
Yes.
levels. We could be turning right into our emotional eaters that we've talked about a couple podcasts ago.
And I found that when I overdo it with food that is not my cooking, I tend to feel sluggish. And when I feel sluggish, then I don't want to do anything. I mean, I literally just want to like binge watch some TV and do the bare minimum.
Mhm.
So, really recognizing that sometimes when you go a little overboard, that it can affect how you think about things as well.
And possibly we might not sleep as well because now we've been eating
Yes.
all of these sugary treats or carbs or cocktails that our body isn't used to. And so now I might spend the night tossing and turning, which most of us know leads to some unhealthy choices in the morning because now I'm too exhausted physically and still a little bit emotionally or mentally to make a healthy choice. And so I'm going to crave sugar, right? And so now I'm going to stay in this bloated, sluggish energy, blah, and it just continues that weekend cycle for me. All right, Erin, another option that could kind of be a downfall for some of us is the lack of our internal clock or the internal clock getting confused. We're not waking up or going to bed at the same time that we tend to do during the week. Most of us are going to sleep or waking up within an hour, I guess during that work week, that Monday through Friday. And then the
Yeah.
weekend comes and we want to stay up later. Maybe we're out socially or we want to sleep in. How does that affect you?
Usually Saturdays, I want to take a nap because I have to get up so early to go to work on Saturday morning that
Same.
you even earlier than me, that there's times when I don't want to do anything on Saturday, and sometimes even Friday night. I'm ready to go to bed super early, knowing that I have to get up earlier than the next morning. So it kind of does throw it off. And they say that if you the best way to get a good night's sleep is to have consistency of when you wake up and when you go to bed. So when that gets messed up on the weekends, I can totally see that being an issue. And then I get cranky, and then nobody wants that.
I know sometimes on Saturday morning, most Saturday mornings when my alarm goes off, I schedule in some snoozes. And so
Yeah.
my first snooze, I might actually fall back asleep. And then the second snooze, I just lay there and I think about my schedule for the day and I plan if there's going to be a nap or not. And like I'm already thinking about a nap and I haven't even like taken a step out of bed. And probably most health people in the health world will tell you don't hit snooze. Like snooze is a no-no, and we should just get out of bed as soon as we can. But no, I daydream about that nap all day long. And then if something happens and I can't have it, cranky.
I love that you daydream about taking a nap. I mean, a lot of people daydream about food they're going to eat that day, but Jen, you're thinking
Oh,
about your sleep. You're like, yeah,
I
I'm going to get a really good nap
love
today.
a good nap. I
I
love
do
a
too.
good nap. Uh, so I guess our tip for if the internal clock is changed, and I get it, it's the weekend and we might be traveling or kids games, grandchildren, work, all of that. We want to go shopping, we want to socialize, we want to go out to dinner or breakfast or lunch or all the meals. Probably one helpful thing would be to say, can I keep that can I keep my sleep schedule within like an hour of where it is the rest of the time, right? Because we've seen the consequence, we've seen the result of what happens when we're all loosey goosey. So what if
Yeah.
we just experimented with, okay, I'm going to sleep in 40 minutes. I'm going to go to bed an hour later than I do during the work week so that I can stay up. Anything else that you think is, I guess, our reason, our excuse for why we just throw in the towel on the weekends?
When I'm honest with myself, it's because I haven't planned for it. I
Mhm.
I don't have the right food. I don't have the right mindset. So looking my most successful weekends is that I have an actual idea of if I'm going out, which night is it going to be? What's it going to be? And then actually thinking out, well, okay, what else can I have to create a balance? So on Thursdays, I stop and I think, and I ask my husband, hey, what are we going to do this weekend? Get an idea what he wants, get an idea of like, if I'm cooking this weekend, do you want me to cook? Sometimes I want to cook, sometimes I don't. I also think my secret this is now is that when I do cook, I try to batch cook so I have something in the freezer.
Yeah.
But then I also have a backup of something that is so stupid easy that I
Mhm.
can whip up that is like, that it's faster than ordering out or, delivery or anything like that. I've got like three different things that are my go-tos that I can whip up and have within a half an hour. And they're foods that we actually like, where it's like, oh yeah, that does sound appealing. But I kind of hold those as the emergency,
Okay.
like, okay, this is when I know I don't have any energy. I have no bandwidth for this. This is what I can do. How about you? What do you do?
Well, you just reminded me what oftentimes I think for me, as especially with Saturdays being a work day for both of us, I pass a lot of fast food restaurants between work and
Yes.
home. And
Yeah.
so trying to figure out, okay, I have to bring something with me. I often have numerous cups with me when I'm going into work because I know that I get thirsty. And if I don't have it with me, I'm not going to drink water. And so I've got that down pat, but I've had to learn to bring a protein drink, hard boiled eggs, string cheese, beef jerky, whatever that might be, so that on my way home, I have something to kind of satisfy me. But occasionally I'll come home and my husband will have made a veggie tray or he's picked up a veggie tray, almost like we're having a party, but it's just us. And now
I
the
love that.
carrots and the cucumbers are all cut up. And sure, there's some kind of dip, but pickles and olives and all of that. And then this becomes that easy grabbing, mindless like snack as we're
Hmm.
going. So that can be
That's a
really
great idea.
helpful. Yeah, so right, like know your own bandwidth. Do I need to do another grocery store trip on my way home Friday? Do I need to order some groceries? Do I need to treat myself like a party and, buy a fruit basket, a fruit tray, a veggie tray, something like that? Or, as you said, have those emergency meals in the freezer or just in the fridge ready to go, I think is great. So, we might need to do a little bit of planning. What's my weekend look like? Am I going out or am I going to be home and now I need something for home? My last tip when it comes to the weekends, it's a hard one, but I think we have to pay attention and notice if we're actually hungry.
When you go to the movies, it's like you have to
Yes.
have popcorn, but you don't actually really like the popcorn. But because you're there, you feel like you have to have it. And I
Well, and that's another thing we do on the weekend, right? How many of us are going to the movies during the week? So now that environment of that habit loop that we often talk about, or just that think, feel, do, and then like throw in the environment of smelling popcorn, watching football games, we're a football watching family. So, football might be on all afternoon on Sunday. Now last week the Bears won and it was okay, but sometimes it's like a rough keep going and almost out of the excitement of the game or the disappointment of the game, we need snacks. I need appetizers. What dips are we going to make? And so that environment has changed and now all of a sudden that habit or those routines of this is what we do when we're at the movies. This is what we do when we watch football come into play. So my last strategy really is to could you be mindful to just say, "Hey, I'm not really hungry right now. Maybe I don't need a snack."
how many of us eat because it's there, not because we're hungry? There were many years in my life that I don't think I ever ate out of hunger. It was because it was just, it was theirs. I was thinking about what you said about football, and somebody had said, "Oh, football equals crock pot." And I went, I too, when I think of football, I think appetizers and snacks, but
Mhm.
flipping the switch of like, how can I look at it differently? Of instead, I could be making a chili with tons of vegetables in there. I mean, just I don't know about your family, but sometimes it's like I had to hide all that stuff inside of something in order to get anybody to eat anything green. So, well, okay, so shh, don't tell anybody. I do hide it from myself. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not really eating this, but it's in
Yeah,
there.
it's in there. I need those vitamins. Really, we're not saying the weekends have to be perfect. We're not perfect. Our weekdays don't need to be perfect. But consistency, checking in with ourselves, as you mentioned, those are going to be some really helpful strategies. And the weekends don't need to be our weekend, they don't need to derail us. It might just mean a few quick little tweaks. Can this weekend, right? Maybe not all my weekends, but this particular weekend, can I wake up fairly around the same time? Or can I go to bed within an hour of normal? Could I plan one flex meal where it's an indulgence and I'm going to just not feel bad about it? Could I plan one crock pot meal or one snack, one freeze ahead that's already ready for me to go? And then paying attention to that idea of am I just rewarding myself because it's the weekend or am I actually hungry?
I like the flex meal idea, and I like what you just said about it's kind of like you're picking one from column A, one from column B, one from column C, so that you're like, all right, I'm going to have a little bit of everything. Because when we tell ourselves we can't have those things, that's when we want it 10 times more. So planning to actually have it, getting in, enjoying it, but then creating the balance and then also knowing yourself. I mean, like, you know what? I'm not going to work against myself. I'm going to work with what works for me. So I like that. Good. That's a good tip, Jen.
Those times that we're out with friends, you're at a restaurant, you're at the theater, even at the kids' soccer game, again, fix choosing that one thing that we want to do. Like, what's important to us at this point? Is it the sitting and socializing? Is it having that cocktail? Is it I'm not really even hungry because I've just been snacking all afternoon while I was sitting at home. So paying attention to that and just, meeting our body where it's at. Those little tiny tweaks could really end in big results as we head into the next week. Waking up Monday morning feeling proud of ourselves, not feeling bloated and swollen and disgusting because of all the things that we ate, but looking back and being like, wow, I had a really great weekend and I ate some really yummy food along the way, but I'm ready to get back to my normal during the week routine.
That is such a way more positive way to think about it.
Mm.
And it would be where you would actually want to keep going because you feel momentum and you feel positive instead of feeling after you've had one of after you've gone on a bender
Mhm.
with the food and the alcohol and the lack of sleep and the having a good time, which is wonderful. But when you've been on that bender situation, you don't feel good. Where if you could at least create some balance, then you start to feel like, you know what? I haven't given up my momentum. My
Mhm.
momentum is still alive and well. And when we have momentum, we are far more likely to want to keep going.
In conclusion, enjoy the weekends. Know that the good news is the weekends don't have to derail us, don't have to be our weekend, but could just mean a few small tweaks, doing something instead of all or nothing, right? Stop
Like it.
that whole throwing in the towel and let's just keep going. Love to hear how your weekends work. Welcome to our first Mindset Minute with me, Jen, your certified health and wellness coach. So, after a weekend of eating out, relaxing on our routines, many of us feel like it's kind of natural to want to jump on that scale first thing Monday morning. But for a lot of us, it could be doing some more harm than doing us any good. Oftentimes, that Monday number is most likely full of water retention from all of the salty foods that we ate, the sugar, maybe even the alcohol. It's not true weight gain, but that number can still feel discouraging and mess with our motivation, possibly even triggering some guilt and shame, and most likely that what's the point mindset. Instead, if you really want to get on the scale, give yourself a couple of days to reset, hydrate, and move your body. A midweek weigh in tends to be a better baseline, a little bit more accurate, and probably a less emotional choice. Thanks for tuning in to Life Beyond the Scale, where midlife women can come for real talk on health and where you're always more than a number. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and follow so you never miss out on the conversation. See you next time.